Let's now talk about language choice and code switching between different languages. We can define language choice as a process which identifies or which looks into a shift from one language to another language, and a very careful shift when the words from another words, phrases, or clauses, or even sentences from another language are introduced into one's own language for the sake of various performances, linguistic performances. And this kind of language choice is quite natural, automatic, and unplanned in case of bilingual or multilingual speakers, because they happen to do it quite frequently within their social interactions. This is what available data informs us. So this is quite natural in multilingual societies. Speakers choose an appropriate register or a variety or style, medium or tone when they perform various functions, linguistic functions within a society. And it would depend on to whom they are speaking to, or in which context, or on which topic they are speaking about. So all these social factors, for example, context, interlocutors, or the situation, they compel speakers sometimes to go for an appropriate register or words, and for that matter, they have to change or make linguistic choices in their discussion. David argues that there could be multiple factors which contribute to language choices of multilingual speakers. For example, social status, gender, educational attainment, ethnicity, rural and urban origins, speakers whom they are speaking to, topic, place, media, and formality or informality of the situation. So people do switch from one language to another, or from one dialect to another, based on all these factors. Code switching is a phenomenon which is very close to language choice. Code switching involves shift from one language to another, back and forth between one language or dialect and another language and dialect within the same conversation. I mean, if somebody shifts language or dialects within different beyond a conversation, that may not be called code switching, right? But that person would still be a multi or bilingual. But if he does so within the same conversation, that phenomena would be called code switching. And we could see another definition. Code switching can be seen as alternations of linguistic varieties within the same conversation. We also have a debate in theory about the choice of the words code mixing and code switching. Kacheru and some other scholars in the area, they have been using code switching, the term code switching, for intersentential switches only, because they believe that intrasentential switches involve the mixing of rules as well, rules of two languages. Therefore, the term code mixing would be more useful in such situations where we switch from one language to another within the same sentence. Muskin avoids the use of word code switching as a cover term. Rather, he goes for the word code mixing, because he believes that code switching implies the alternation only, similar to the change in turn in a conversation. Therefore, he goes for the word, he sports the word code mixing, and to cover both code switching and borrowing. Borrowing is also a similar concept. Borrowing is the use of the words from another language to one's own language, and using it quite frequently to the extent that it becomes an integral part of that language. We could give the example of word restaurant here. Restaurant is originally a French word, but it has been used so frequently in English societies that now it looks like a key word of English language. There could be various kinds of code switching. I'll just mention two popular ones. One is situational code switching, and this code switching is actually based on various situations. When a speaker uses various codes in various situations, then we may call it situational code switching. And it would depend largely on in which situation he is interacting with other people. And when he is doing so, we may call it domain-based or situational code switching. When he changes from one code to another because of the person he is talking to, then we could call it an addressee-based code switching, but it would still remain a situational code switching. We also have another kind, which is metaphorical code switching, and this is based on the belief that each of the code within a conversation represents a set of social meaning. So you have to employ these codes in order to convey those particular social meanings which are associated with those codes. There could be multiple reasons for code switching by speakers. Sometimes a speaker may use a different language or switch from one language to another in order to show identity or association with another group, or for similar social reasons, because language is a sign of identity as well. So we could assume that people may switch from one language to another because of such reasons. For example, in our society, it is generally believed on local level that people speaking in English language at social places, they try to show their relationship to a higher class or an educated class within the society. There could be sometimes lack of vocabulary or register for a certain topic or certain area of communication, so people switch to another language. For example, you may not find suitable words to express a certain topic, so you may switch to another language or a foreign language which covers that topic more appropriately. Then sometimes people switch from one language to another, usually to a high status language, to seek attention of the listeners, and this is very popular form of code switching in advertisements. We see there are so many words used from foreign languages, especially from English language, in our society as well, and they are used to seek attention of the buyer. And code switching may also be done in order to express emotions and for the sake of amusement as well, to create humor in certain situations. In the end, I would just like to mention that code switching do have a positive and important role to play in the teaching of a second language. Recent studies have shown us that the people with low proficiency may benefit from code switching within their classrooms. If teacher switches to their native language in order to make them understand some important points of the lesson, they may benefit from it a lot.